Hi, this demonstration is going to show you how to draw an eyeball. But before we get started, you're going to want to take some time and make a nice parallel and perpendicular grid on your drawing paper. Then you're just going to use the techniques you learned about in our previous projects to figure out where this eye goes. So we're going to be using fractions as well as positive shapes and negative shapes to help us out here. And what I usually do, I usually find out where the corners of the eyes are first, and then I build the eye around that. So let's look for the inside corner of this eye. If this is about halfway right here, in between here and here, this is about a quarter of the way. That corner right there is a little bit to the right of a quarter of the way in. So that's about a half, that's about a quarter. It's a little bit to the right of that, so that corner of the eye is going to start about right there. The corner of this eye, it's a little bit tricky. Some people would try to find this corner. I always go for the most outside part of the eye. So it's about half. That's in between at a quarter. It goes about right there, 3/4 over. So half, 3/4. This is going to be where that eye ends, right about here. After you find out where the corners are, then I simply find out how tall or how high up the eye goes and how low it goes. So the bottom of the eye, I'm actually going to try to find out where the actual eyelid begins, and I'll do the eyelashes later on. So this goes, let's see, this is about half, that's about a quarter, maybe a little bit higher than a quarter of the way down. So about right here, that's where the bottom of the eye is. And then if this is roughly halfway, that's about a quarter. I'd say the solid dark part of the eye would cross a little bit lower than half. So it's about half. The solid dark part would start about here. The actual eyeball is a little bit above the quarter mark. So if that's about a quarter, the actual eyeball will start somewhere around there. And then from here, you simply just connect the dots. And remember, you're constantly looking back and forth, and you're looking at positive, negative shapes to help you out. I see this curves around and makes like almost a little triangle right here. So I'm just going to connect the dots with a slight curve, just like that. These solid dark eyelashes are going to end about right here. The bottom of it will come around making this shape like that. It starts off coming straight across, but then curves down a little bit and meets with that mark right there. And then this part of the eye is going to curl around this way. And the dark eyelashes actually kind of come up and around like this. But the actual eyeball itself, there's a shadow there, but you're going to have a line coming in through here. And then if this is about a half, I'd say it goes to a little bit to the right of the half mark right there. And just remember there's going to be a shadow in there. Now the actual pupil and the iris of the eyeball we need to figure out as well. And positive shapes will help us out. These little triangular shapes in here are a good way to help you out. And you know it starts just a little bit above this line right here. So it's going to start off right here. Curve around. This actually goes in, it crosses this line a little bit to the right of a quarter of the way over. So it's a half, that's a quarter. A little bit to the right, you know it crosses over right about there. Comes up to the shadowy area. And then this one crosses a little bit to the right of a quarter. Remember, that's a half, that's a quarter, a little bit to the right of that. Half, quarter, a little bit to the right. And then you just try to make a nice smooth circle coming around. And just remember there's going to be some shadows in there that will add some detail. Now the eyelid itself is going to start all the way up here. So that's about half, that's about a quarter of the way up. It's right in between the two. Half, split that in half, it's right in this area right here. We know this curves down towards that point right there, that line, and it also works its way this way and ends up getting a little bit closer to that solid dark area of the eyelash. And the shadow of it is actually going to be a little bit higher up here, just like that. Now the pupil itself looks like it starts right on that intersection right here. It goes through that area, comes around. You should have the same amount of space in between the edge of the iris here and the pupil itself. And another important thing to always remember is to keep in mind you're always going to have a highlight in the eye. So the highlight is going to go right about here, just like that. And then I'm going to go in and erase my grid line in some of these areas so I can begin shading.